Others, he's and she's, welcome to the Endless Eight podcast, a curated list of the selected works of Kyoto animation. This is episode 6, Myriad Colors Phantom World. I am your host, Yata, and joining me in the cast today are my co-hosts with the most, are... Fuck. I was going so good as well.
Man.
I know.
Just leave it in. We'll be fine. I'm here. I'm
our
Kai.
co-host. Yeah, sorry.
Hi, I'm Kai. I'm the other co-host here. My YouTube channel is Clear and Sweet. This is episode number 6. You've been with us for 6 episodes, or maybe you just jumped to hear us talk about Myriad Colors Phantom World, in which case, wow, hi, welcome. I have no idea why you chose this one, but we're glad you're here. And today, to help us deal with the immensity, the absolutely behemoth work of Myriad Colors Phantom World, we have a guest with us.
Hello, my name is Cider Thoughts. I do video essays about mainly life lessons in anime. Yeah,
I'm gonna hop in there and rescue Cider. He needs to get acclimatized to the warm temperature here. I found Cider Thoughts actually because I was looking for a host for the Tomoko Market episode, and I didn't realize we had host lined up because, you know, communication is really hard for, I guess, me and Kai sometimes.
Well, no, it's just exclusive. It's hard to get on this podcast. It's a very prestigious thing. Yeah. So there was a lot of competition. That's all.
So yeah, I was scouting through AniTube videos about Tomoko Market. Obviously, I was going for like pro Tomoko Market episodes videos because we know where I stand on it. So if I left it to Kai, it would have been like, I don't know. Actually, you pulled through with a great guest though, and he revealed his true colors, and those colors were fantastic. His myriad colors, you could say. I saw. I had to do it. I saw Cider Thoughts video. I was like, I like this video. I like his tone. So I reached out through Twitter, and I was about to surprise him with a Tomoko Market spot, and then it turned into a Myriad Colors Phantom World spot. And I think
lucky me.
Yeah, consolation prize. Some people might call it a shit sandwich. Some people might call it a delicious sandwich. We're going to find out in this episode.
That's true.
Trying very hard to not give away the ghost of what exactly we thought about the show. But yeah, we're doing Myriad Colors Phantom World. This was 2016, I believe, like January 2016. It's a 13-episode anime. And this is what directly followed Sound Euphonium Season 2. And I think the next anime they did was like Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. So they were kind of on a bit of a heater coming into Myriad Colors Phantom World. And to say it got a bit cold post the Limbo first episode is probably an understatement. I'm just talking about the general like reception publicly, because I remember being like, this is when I start plugging into the thoughts of other people. And I remember this first episode, people were not happy with this. I haven't heard like, the death of Kyoto animation.
Oh my God. You've just activated something in my brain that I completely forgot about. But this first episode, Cider, I don't know if you were around in 2016 with the anime sphere, but I was. And you were so aware of when this first episode aired and all this nonsense. Really? And like, what is Kyoto Animation doing? Do you have a history with Kyoto Animation aside from Tomoko Market?
Kyoto Animation is my favorite studio, but I didn't really start watching anime until probably like 2018. So I had never even heard of this show until Yata brought it up.
That's well, I'll take responsibility then for, I guess, maybe ruining your favorite studio for you. I will say though, you're not the first person to be in this situation, because last week with Munto, hardly any of us had heard of it. Kai, you had, but me and Tori were sort of like, Munto. Again, I just thought it was a funny word. But this one was literally for me around the time I started getting plugged into the sphere. Because as I posted this, I was like a lone wanderer. You know, I discovered K-On! And Sound Euphonium, but I was doing it through my anime list, as we discussed previously. And if it had a good rating, I'd watch it. Myriad Colors did not have a good rating, so I never watched it.
It still doesn't.
No, it doesn't. This is not the one that hurts me. The two things about Mal that hurts me. Fuck it, we're going to go there.
Go.
The 7.99 that Bloom Into You has kills me. That needs to be on an 8. And
very
it
much
needs to be on an 8. It's 7.99 is like, it's just like a hair short of a very good score. Because once you're in an 8 on Mal, you're like, oh yeah, it's probably a good show. In the 7s, it's always debatable. 7.99 is just like, oh, come on. And number 2 is every time the pink-haired girl from Kaguya-sama Love is War, Chika, when she moves above Kaguya in the member favorites, I fucking hate that. Kaguya's best girl. She's the best girl. So I just throw that out there. I stand Kaguya hard. Chika's great, but come on. You can all agree, right?
That.
You should. Oh my God, you should watch that.
Yeah.
You got to watch that.
I love Kaguya-sama.
Yeah, dude, season 3 passed Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood on the Mal rating for like a 5-minute period there before all the FMA fans got really angry.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I hate Full Metal Alchemist and love it, and it's pure. It's because of Mal.
Wait! Back that one up. I hate that people care about the Mal anime ranking list. That's what I hate. But yeah, Full Metal Alchemist is whatever. It's not the best anime of all time. Thank you. All right.
Shots fired. Come on at us.
Yeah, I mean, if you're one of those people that care about it, thank you for watching our Myriad Colors Phantom World episode because
you must have got lost somewhere. But pull up a chair.
Welcome. So anyway, going back to 2016, the first episode of Myriad Colors Phantom World has a lot of the elements that come to identify Myriad Colors Phantom World, right? It has a lot of the things that are questionable, are interesting decisions, we'll say, and when that hit, man, people were not ready for it. And now, like you said, 2 years later, it's completely forgotten. But that season, I remember people up in arms. Like, what's happening?
Every so often you'll have that clip that kind of goes viral. Again, on the Kaguya-sama thing in season 1 when Chika had that dance at the end of episode 3.
Dance.
That was just a moment. The bouncing breasts of our blonde, I already forgot her name.
Mai.
That was the Chika dance of January 2016. I saw that everywhere, like several times.
Yep.
And
I had seen that before seeing the show. Yes.
Yeah, that's all I knew about the show.
As soon as I saw that moment, I was thinking Twitter probably went crazy over this. It was probably just everywhere.
There's the other thing too, where she does her kidneys. She does her, she's like, and then she does her kidneys in a way that explicitly props up her boobs as much as possible. And I'd seen that clip too. That goes into something we're going to talk about, right? Like the decisions that were made on this show, the impact of that. Ugh. God.
So can I ask, Cider, what you said that Kyo Animation is your favorite anime studio. So if you didn't have to talk about Myriad Colors Phantom Worlds, what shows do you vibe with? What's your favorite Kyo Animeworks?
Violet Evergarden. Not even a competition.
Wow.
Interesting.
That is my favorite anime of all time.
Did not expect that answer.
You're the second person I've heard say that answer, and it's blown my mind both times. Because I like Violet Evergarden, and especially episode 10.
Episode 2 of Violet Evergarden is not that good. I don't like it. And I'm like, I would wonder how you would defend that.
I don't know. When I watch the first episode, and maybe it's because I have kind of an emotional connection to it, I just get so immersed in it and I just cannot put it down until episode 10. And then I usually take a break on a rewatch because it's just like I'm emotionally exhausted.
Dude,
but I don't know. It's just something about the world and just Kyoto Animation, the way they did it. It just takes me and grabs me and just keeps me. But I can understand, there are definitely some parts where it's kind of a drag to get through. So.
Well, I will say that you're not the first person I've heard say this. I had a friend who he swears by it. He also swears K on season 1 is better than season 2, and that's just objectively wrong.
Yeah.
But he wrote a very thoughtful piece on a really thoughtful piece on the power of Violet's eyes from the perspective of a war veteran. Again, I'm from Ireland, so I can't stress enough how, our fighting's in the past and we have no military presence. So to meet somebody from the military is just it's not a thing. I've never met an Irish person who was in the military. But in the US, that's a viable career choice for a lot of people because, big country and you got to, do what
big
America...
military, yeah. Big military industrial complex.
Big military, yeah. But he made me completely reevaluate how I thought about the show because I enjoyed it. It's a soft fantasy and I just fucking love fantasy anyway. And the animation is incredible.
So that's what I want to say. I want to say your comment about Violet's eyes and stuff and production values, right? Violet Evergarden is notable for me because they took their highest quality animation and all the character design and all that stuff, and they funneled it into conveying emotions. And that's the point of Violet Evergarden. That's why Violet Evergarden totally succeeds. And that brings us back to Myriad Colors Phantom World, if you will allow me to, because the production values on Myriad Colors Phantom World, they're not bad.
They're better than not bad, dude. There was times when I was like, holy Jesus,
yes,
this is impressive. This is legitimately impressive. Let's get into it. Let's get into Myriad Colors Phantom World. Can I ask you guys, because this is kind of a polarizing show, I guess, in a lot of respects, because it's sort of the most disliked, I'll say, of the shows that we've done on the list so far, with the exception of Munto, because Munto's got this weird space where it's very, very niche, but it's not really KyoAni in the way that it would become post Haruhi and Clannad, right? This is a KyoAni show, and you could really feel it. Did you like this show?
No.
Okay.
No. I was incredibly offended by this show. I hated this show.
All right, so I guess I'll reveal it now. I kind of liked this show.
Really?
Yeah, I did. I'm not going to lie. I enjoyed it. So we had a group chat going to let you guys behind the curtain, and Kai posted a comment about having to force himself through the last couple of episodes. I sat down from episode 7 and went straight to 13, and I was just boom, 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 boom. That was nice. Now, I will say, I will say I am aware of the fact that there is faults. And just because I like something doesn't necessarily mean it's good. And just because I don't like something doesn't necessarily means that it's bad. So I can understand why people would not like the show, but I think I kind of crystallize it into a single moment. And I'm going to like get your take on this and see if you guys agree with me.
Okay.
So there was a scene in, I believe, the very last episode. If it wasn't the last episode, it was the second to last episode, where our heroic kind of group were trying to crack a code behind this like nefarious corporation to find out what was going on. There was some sort of secret that was kind of eluding them. And essentially what happens is we had like Deus Ex stuffed bear who just fixed the he fixed the controller that had been like a prop basically since episode 3, and then he cracked the codes and found out all the information instantly. Now I think there's two kinds of reactions to this, and this will sort of find
I'm
where
having
you
one
sit
of
on
them
the
right
show.
now. You guys can't see it on the audio podcast, but I'm having one of those types of reactions right now on screen.
Put the noose away. It's not worth it. It's not that bad. I think you're either sort of that is the worst plot contrivance ever. That's this show in a nutshell, or you're sort of like me who was like, oh, that was hilarious. I loved it. I thought it was so funny and it was so dumb, and I thought that was the sort of like the perfect encapsulation of this show. All of those stupid moments fell on just the right side of like, oh, I like that. But I could see anyone who cares about stuff like story and character and narrative and payoffs eye rolling or, you know, metaphorically hanging themselves. So that's my thought. I feel like that moment kind of encapsulates the polarity of the show. What do you guys think?
Cider, you gotta go first.
Okay. I can totally see that. I mean, so I watched episodes 1 through 3 like a week ago, and then I didn't watch the rest until last night. So I just went through, and it was entirely a chore. But I will say that episode 11 was the one episode that I actually thought was good.
Was that the one with the witch?
It was no, that was the one with that's the one where what's her name? Man, I can't even think of it anymore.
These are the characters.
No, Enigma's episode 12 and 13.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, episode 12. Sorry.
Oh,
not
okay.
Yeah. Where Enigma shows
12, 12 was
and
good.
I thought
12 and 4. Yeah.
I thought that the moment with the bear just hacking in episode, was that 13? I thought, I mean, it gave me a little chuckle. It was kind of cute, but like it was just kind of mindless enjoyment in general. I didn't really, I mean, I didn't particularly like it, and it definitely was hard to get through. And had I not been on this podcast, I probably would have dropped it at episode 3. But yeah, that's my take on it.
I mean, you say mindless enjoyment. I would say like mindless not enjoyment. What's the opposite of
like
enjoyment?
Make fun of it kind of enjoyment.
Like it's like a meme, a 13 episode meme.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Now I have all the respect in the world for irreverence, and I think that's one of my favorite things in any type of media or anything really. But I don't think, and that bear element, that the bear ex machina hacking thing, I also maybe a little funny Yuki Nagato moment too. That's what it felt like to me. But no, that one didn't bother me so much. That bear hacking. What bothered me was just like how well everything, right? But how messy the entire concept of the show is. And I was thinking about this, right? Like I was thinking about like, what am I going to say about this on this podcast? Because, you know, it's funny to just get on here and be like, yeah, Myriad Colors Phantom World, boy, that sucks. And talk about all the times where it sucks, because there's a lot of times where it sucks. And I have a list here. We can get to those. But
you roll us off like a toe.
It's like they animated the cat's balls on the thing. You remember that?
I know. I was like, what? Why?
It's like watching Pompoko. Oh, it's like, what? Yeah.
One of my all-time favorite Ghibli movies, by the way.
Oh,
Pompoko. Maybe it's a big dangling nuts. I don't know. I just love it. Maybe that's why I like this show.
Truly magical.
Yeah. Oh man, we gotta talk about the sexuality. We gotta talk about the tone. We gotta talk about how the last 2 episodes turn into like a completely different show. But right now, I want to talk to you because have you Cider? Have you seen The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya?
Yes, I have.
Okay. So I had this like epiphany. I was like, this show is just The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya. And it's because it's, this club with these, fantastical adventures. It's completely episodic, or, well, kind of episodic mostly. And it tries to do some character stuff. And it's got that fantasy vibe to it. At the same time, that's one of my favorite shows. And this is one of the worst shows I think it's definitely Kyoto Animation's worst show. But what happened here, if it has better production values than Haruhi, like, what's missing? What do I not have in this show? And I think it's the story. I think it's like any type of writing whatsoever. I think it's a focus, it just feels, Myriad Colors Phantom World feels so disconnected and so scatterbrained. I do not know what they were doing. I do not know how this got greenlit. I do not know how nobody stood up and was like, "What? Why are we doing this?" Like,
actually, I think I have a theory on why it got greenlit, and I'm pretty certain it's the irregular at Magic High School. That's why it got greenlit. So I made a list on a document, the first time I've ever actually added anything to the document. And it's the Asterix World, Chivalry of a Failed Knight, Lance and Masks, Sky Wizards Academy, Yamada-kun and the Seven Witches, World Break, Arya, the Curse of the Holy Swordsman, The Coffin Princess, Blade Dance of the Elementors, Unlimited Fafnir, 100. I can also throw in there Arya no Hidan, and of course this. And I guess another one would be the one that this one got like the most member suggestions, which is on Mal itself, which is when supernatural battles become commonplace. And I think there was a sort of like trigger. Post, because you know what happens, like we're experiencing it right now. It's like, okay, isekai is really popular, let's all go that direction, right? When K-On! Hits, Moe is like, that's the hot shit right now, so we got to make that, right? And of course, what's going to happen is quality is going to vary in terms of the output. So you've got some pretty good shows that kind of follow this sort of this harem, magical, ecchi sort of vibe, and you've got some fucking abortions. But they all basically follow the same structure, where it's sort of like we meet this protag, and he's one of two characters. He's either the guy who gets punched all the time because he's inadvertently a pervert, or he's the guy that all of the girls sort of lust after, but he is so fucking like asexual, I guess you could say, that he just, it's just sort of like, it just bounces off of him. And I think this was kind of like made in response to that, because like, at this period, it was almost like a fight for like, what do you call it? Like the zeitgeist of anime almost. And Isekai won, I would say, because like, as we can see, but this in the mid to late like teens period, this shit was coming out like left, right, and center. And if you look at this, like the structure of when supernatural battles become commonplace and Myriad Colors Phantom World, it's almost identical. Arya the Scarlet Ammo, it's almost identical. You have an episode to introduce your new harem member. Then you have an episode where they sort of get to like reveal some sort of past like character development moment, and the protag sort of like orbits them for a while, and then they kind of like just at the very last minute realize, oh shit, we need to have something to tie this series together. Enigma, you know, and then and then when you get like a 12 or 13 episode anime, and I would say most times it fucking whiffs, but in this instance, again, I didn't like hate it. I kind of liked it, but it's very messy. Like it's really messy.
So can I take another angle on that narrative? Is this was a light novel submitted to the Kyoto Animation thing, of which you said Violet Evergarden. You know, that same thing that made Violet Evergarden happen was somebody submitted a light novel, and then Kyoto Animation took the rights, and they're like, oh, we can make this our original IP, and we can get the stuff from this anime. So in that vein, and combined with what you were just saying, Yanta, I think that maybe Myriad Colors Phantom World came about because they were like, okay, let's chase the zeitgeist, chase that money on this, harem fantasy light novel thing. And then also like, let's make it our own. And also kind of let's try and, horror he did well. And this is kind of in that vein. Let's try and do that. Yeah, let's try and get some of that money. And if you look at it from that way, like the people that worked on this show are not bad at their jobs. It's like Ishihara. It's like the entire cast of everybody at Kyoto Animation who has made good anime. So I guess I'm back at the thing of like, why does it fail? Why does it fail? And I think it was in pursuit of money.
Do you think it's the lack of Haruhi as well? Because if I think of like
totally,
what this show lacks compared to the melancholy, it's actually Haruhi herself. Because like Kyon, like I like Kyon. I like Kyon.
Don't
No,
underrate
I do.
Kyon.
I do like Kyon, but I also
Okay.
find myself like not hating Haruhiko. Like he fills that sort of role quite
Haruhiko
well.
is okay, right?
The other girls, none of those, like they like. Could I say that they're on a par with the other members of the club? No, but not egregiously like out of their league. Well, there's nobody who's like a Haruhi where you're sort of like, she is just like a force personality. You're there for her. Like, I guess maybe. Okay, go on. Go. I was gonna say.
Can I say because there's even like the sexuality angle. That's a thing in Haruhi. That's a like an appeal. But there's this informed nature. If you read the light novels of Haruhi, and I haven't read the light novel for Myriad Colors Phantom World. And I'm sorry to the author of Myriad Colors Phantom World. I'm sure you're a good author. I'm sure it's better than you. But like, when you read the light novels of Haruhi, you can tell that there's something there. You can understand that it's interesting, right? Or like there's themes, there's character arcs, there's a lot of passion behind how it is written. And I think the other stuff, like, Kyon makes all these references to things too, like to ideas and random BS. And the sexuality is there too. Like a lot of it translates over, but the intent, the heart, the writing at its core is in the light novels. Where it's, I don't know. I don't think it's in the light novels here.
I totally agree. I think that Haruhi Suzumiya has those themes kind of more like under the rug, kind of underlying, and you got to really think about it and really look at it from different perspectives and be like, oh, maybe it's about this, and then think about it. It requires thought. But with Myriad Colors Phantom World, I think those themes are just kind of like the Schrodinger's cat episode, and they kind of like shoehorn them in, and then they're just kind of there. Actually, yeah. And it's either like really in your face, or it just is such a stretch to connect the thing from the beginning of like the opening of the episode and then the rest of the episode that you're just lost. So I actually want to ask you guys about those introductions, because if you're not familiar with the show, and I guess if you're listening to this and you're kind of on the fence about it, I think consensus would say you don't need to watch this. But if you are sort of curious about like how they're structured, they do follow this sort of like episodic nature, and each episode gets prefaced with this Haruhiku kind of like faux intellectualizing some sort of like, I don't know, like we said, Schrodinger's cat, and I think he talked about fucking like Wittgenstein and Ferdinand de Saussure and like the collective unconsciousness and Carl Jung, and like it's all this kind of stuff that sort of like ties into what the episode will be. And I kind of like hated it because I just gave away the whole like goat of what the episode's going to be. Now I will, and then I had this thing where sometimes I would actually get excited by the premise of the episode and be disappointed by the content that was delivered. Like this specifically happened one time where they're talking about going back to like, oh, we're going to go to we're doing a historical episode. So in my mind, they're going to get transported back to, into a period drama. And I was like, oh, this could be interesting. This could be really fun. It's like we get to see all of our characters in various states of like costuming, and it could be really, really fun. And then the what we got, and they also like prefaced it with this cool scene where Haruhiku and Reina were like in kind of like their version of Aroni Kenshin, I guess, fighting this like it wasn't an Oni, but it was like some sort of like magical creature, I guess. And I was like, oh shit, this is going to be really, really fun. Yeah, and then the way it delivered, it was kind of like, that went from potentially my favorite episode in the whole series to like the one that I point out to being kind of like sore about, Mm-hmm.
And I kind of blame that fucking intro because it just, it really sets, and it just, there's a bit of an eye rolly thing when they're talking about like, oh, fucking, the sign and the simulacrum, and you're like, yeah, but really? Are you just sounding like clever for the sake of being clever now, or are you going to actually
Haruhiko's mansplaining about
I was going to use that word
ideas
too.
is just like it. No, it's fine, right? Like I like learning about stuff. I like Schrodinger's cat and whatever Carl Jung and what but I don't need a Wikipedia page animated by Kyoto Animation read to me. Like that's not good entertainment. That's not why I'm here. That's cool that exists, but it doesn't make for good viewing.
Can we also talk about the whole premise of the show from like a magic perspective? So the idea is essentially, if you're not familiar with the show, is that plot contrivance happens and it altered the literal brain functions of humanity. So now we have
don't explain this plot. Don't literally explain this plot.
I think it's what ends up because it falls down pretty quickly for me. So the idea is that now that we start creating projections of spirits or phantoms, and because we have this thing in our mind now, this chemical or whatever the fuck it is, it was never that clear to me. They start like appearing as like before us as real. Okay, that's all well and good, but they're like physically damaging the environment and affecting the real world. And I'm kind of like, and also, so I'm sort of like, wait, were they always there? We can't just see them now. But then how do you explain the fact that like in literally episode 1, like they destroy a sign? Like surely a fucking mental projection can't do that, right? So like that's where I was like falling apart. Like when you're trying to like make sense of it, it's just kind of the Munto thing where it was all there, but it was just fucking like explained to us. Here it's just like thrown at us and not really like sticking.
I actively hated that. Because it's like the world building is not thought through and the story is not thought through and the characters are not thought through on the level where you engaging with them is rewarding. Instead, it's quite the opposite. There's so much in Myriad Colors Phantom World that asks you not to think about it. Like, why are some phantoms good? Why are the telephone poles upset? Like, just don't worry about it, man. We're limbo. Here are the boobies. And it's just like, no, I can't deal with this. I can't. I'm back at the first part where, the first thing happened and I'm still like, why? And the show just asks you to go with it. It just throws it again and again. And even like the jokes are like that, like the how does she do that with all such big boobies and all this stuff? And it's like, are you making a reference? Or when that first episode when Reina falls on Haruhiko's face and they do it, oh no, this is like some light novel situation, and then he turns around and then she still falls on his face. Is that a subversion? You lampshaded it, so you're obviously doing something with it, but then what are you doing? You're not doing anything with it. And I'm like going insane. I'm like, that's not how you write a joke. That's like
Now, I will say that I thought there were some legitimately funny moments later on, but I think, do you think it was the first episode really hurt this show? Because I think a lot of the most egregious elements of the show are contained within the first episode.
Oh, yeah.
Like we referenced the limbo thing and that Panny incident. Like, I don't think the show is particularly gross the way a lot of shows in this space are. Like, I'm not saying it's anime, so there's always that thing where you're sort of like treading the line, but I found with these sort of like ecchi magical harems, it just goes way beyond the line for me personally. And this one, it felt really front loaded. Like you're trying to like trick an audience into watching this show for like boobies and then they don't get it, right? But so they're already turned off, but then anyone who's not really into that gets bombarded with in episode 1 and they're turned off as well. So we go into episode 2 and sort of nobody's happy. Right?
Yeah, that's a great way of describing it. No, totally. And I think I'm on board with what you've said. It's kind of like this B tier kind of PG ecchi, right? It's kind of like, yeah, her boobs are there. Yeah, they have that gross episode with the
pig,
hot springs
the
monkey,
monkey.
the monkey that licks her. You remember that? Holy shit! Oh, and it's like bad the entire way through, and you're like, why? You're not using this sexuality conducive to anything whatsoever, nothing, and it's really weird. But like, it's also not erotic in any way. It's also like, if you're gonna do it. And like I said, I mentioned Tenchi Muyo a while ago, and that you get titties in that, and it's fun, and it's it's sexy too. Or like High School of the Dead, and there's tons of ecchi out there where it's actually fun ecchi. This is like upsetting ecchi, and that's not good for anybody.
I'm on the boat that all or most ecchi is upsetting ecchi.
Me too. Yeah.
But I can tell bad ecchi from, I guess, quote unquote good ecchi, and this is definitely bad.
Yeah, I completely agree. I will say, I say that from an ecchi perspective, because again, I have to remind people and myself that I like this, so I should be defending it. But I agree with all these points. And on that bear episode, one of those moments you're like, God, guys, are you even trying? Where she's like, "Oh, you're not gonna." They kind of exhaust all options, and eventually it all returns to Mai, and Mai has to literally paint her ass red. And I was like, okay.
Oh, and they have a whole scene where Haruhiko like talks about her
I
ass.
skipped that whole scene.
The scene before, she's literally wearing red pants because she's in her PE uniform, right? And I'm like,
that's what
I know you're not supposed
to
think about it too much, but fucking dude, she's literally wearing red pants in the shot, and now you're painting her ass because she needs it to be red. Like, you know, that was like that episode kind of like. That episode kind of disappointed me in respect. I thought it was on a bit of a good run. A good run, that's generous. Like it was a sort of semi-enjoyable run. And there was like these moments where it's just like, shit. And now I'm going to have to like basically like defend the show, but would caveat it with this moment and this moment and this moment and this moment where I have to go, yes, that is bad. But there are things that I liked about it. You know,
let's talk about those things that you liked about it, because I will say that there were, for as bad as this wasn't like a Handshakers or like something where it's completely irredeemable. Like this is still quality stuff to be seen here.
Handshakers catching a stray, by the way.
Oh, fuck like... Handshakers! I'll do it all day. I don't give a fuck. Now you got me mad about Handshakers. You ruined my flow. But no, yeah, they're the good stuff in Myriad Colors Phantom World. I will say, episode 4. This is the episode where Reina has a family that is not supportive with her, and then she finds these phantoms, the rabbits, and she goes and lives with them, and they have this like mind control thing. But they're just really nice, and she has this secondary life with this other family of phantoms. And that felt like an actual cohesive episode that was like written and explored Reina in a pretty decent way. I liked it. The same thing for episode 12 with the first episode with Enigma. I think because Enigma shows up and then it explores a bit about Haruhiko's backstory. And I guess you could also throw in there the Mai episode where she's Haruhiko becomes a child and then Mai takes care of him as an adult.
Episode. No, I was remember watching that. So I was like, fuck me. I thought you guys were gonna like completely tear that episode apart, and I was like, I didn't
like it. I liked what it was trying to do.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Yeah,
Cider,
I agree.
Was there any episodes that you kind of enjoyed? Because there's one episode that Kai did not mention that I kind of thought that maybe he would mention. Maybe you're going to mention it.
No, don't even go there.
I was going to say the one that I thought until episode 11 with the witch. I actually liked that one.
Lulu's episode.
Yeah, that one was until Lulu wasn't actually dead. I actually enjoyed that episode. And also the episode where they go into I don't even remember the character's name. Her imagination.
Kurumi. The bear episode.
Yes, Kurumi,
that's the episode I thought Kai might like.
No, dude, you can't just put a magical girl in an episode and be like, Kai's gonna like it. That's not how it works, man. That's not how it works. That episode was the single worst offender in like the exposition donkey metric of just they go into bear world and then there's a warring faction of bears and you're like they drop all these proper nouns about the bear history and you're like, what the fuck are you doing? What the fuck?
Have a Mecca when you're at it.
Yeah, and I remember. Oh fuck, dude. Oh, I remember posting a reaction GIF in our reaction GIF in our chat of just like my brain exploding in that episode. It was, ooh man, I hated that episode.
I kind of liked it, man. I gotta say I liked it. I thought the colors were cool. It reminded me like an episode of the Care Bears or fucking Dora the Explorer or something. I was like, oh, that's another issue. Is like that this episode I thought was really cool for like a young audience, but you're like, well, I thought you were supposed to be a harem ecchi.
Yeah, it doesn't know what it wants.
Yeah, it really doesn't, and that's why I think the show is like because it's episodic. I actually kind of like episodic shows in general. And we were talking about like The Witch earlier on. That for some reason I was going to make like The Wandering Witch, The Journey of Aleida thing, because that's an episodic witch show, right? And she has this massive oversized hat, and I was like, I like The Witch episode too. The character design was kind of cool, and I did like the bear episode, but I found that like the fluctuation between fucking like episode to episode, it was like I could really enjoy the sort of shtick for this episode, or I could fucking hate it. So we had the hot spring episode, which was like, ugh. And then I think of like the firework episodes. I like the firework episode. And I like, again, we're talking about the intro when he explained the history of fireworks. I was like, shit, I didn't know that. And that was actually, and, you know, it was like, okay, so that's why the Matsuri Festival is in every anime, because of people, you know, mourning the dead. Literally didn't know that. That's how you do those things.
Let's say on the fireworks episode, I want to say the premise is good, though, right? The premise of this episode is Lulu is this small fairy phantom, and she is small. And then she wants to be a normal person. So a witch comes along and grants her this wish. And she becomes a large person for the episode. And great. Like, premise, good. Great. Good. Awesome. Execution. Let's talk about it. You know? She's in there giving her whole backstory on like she joins the club and they're like, my parents died before I was born and all that stuff.
6 months before I was born.
Yeah. That's a funny joke. That's
I loved it.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, but then she's like, sees how Haruhiko is nice, I guess, throughout the rest of the episode, you know, and there's all these jokes about eating, what was it, ramen or something? Or
ramen,
drinking a whole...
cream soda. It's ramen.
Oh, okay,
I fucking
ramen,
love that shit as well.
It's so good.
Yeah, so she wants to drink a whole thing of it, and she doesn't get a chance to, and but like, the climax is like, she needs to be able to fly again. Like, that's the whole thing that draws her out of the and like, oh man, I'm just saying, I'm not saying like the concept span. I'm not saying I am saying I hated the episode. I'm saying that you could have written a different story with that premise.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't even think you need the drama of her having to reveal herself. Like, I think you could have had like a nice character moment where she realizes that actually he does care about her, and she just like you don't need the conflict, right? You could go sort of like think of the fireworks festival in San Euphonium, right? Just where, you know, where Hazaki has like a fucking human moment, and it's a great moment of growth for her as a character, and we all love her. And it could have just been a situation where it's like, oh, we just had the thing. We didn't need the fucking Soul Eater firework coming in, sort of like, I'm going to blow shit up. I'm going to blow shit. You know?
Yeah.
I think it felt like that drama set, because that was another issue in terms of like the threat, sort of like there had to be a sort of like perceived threat for each episode. And I felt a lot of time it wasn't necessary. You could have sacrificed it for just more slice of life kind of KyoAni humor. Which is what
episode 4 does, which is part of why it's so great. Yeah, you talk about stakes, right? You talk about like what's at stake and what do the Phantoms add to Myriad Colors Phantom World, and that's stuff I would really question. And that also goes into the ending too, where the tone like snaps. Like throughout most of the show, it's like super lighthearted, right? It's like comical. It's hitting this brand of action comedy harem
and cute. There's a lot of cute, like a lot of
cute. Yeah. And Haruhi's explaining, he's like, let's take, you know, like it's an after school special, right, or an infomercial or something like let's learn about, you know, quantum mechanics today. Here we go, boys. Like and a lot of cringe humor and then like you're expected to also hit these emotional beats on these characters. You're supposed to feel threatened, or like when Mai is defending the little Haruhiko in her episode on the beach against the Phantom. It's like this dramatic thing, and like there's supposed to be a threat. And the only time that really comes into play is when they go full on like a Marvel movie in the ending. You know, it becomes like this power thing of like, oh man, a really bad Phantom's gonna come get us and take away all our powers. And throughout, and I was just the tonal snap on the Phantoms being like, well, whatever, you know, they beat them and whatever, it's not that much of a threat, to oh shit. And then how dramatic the show gets, how it asks you to cry for its characters, and you're just like,
nah, no thank you, I'll keep my tears.
I think Cider kind of like alluded to this a few minutes ago when we were talking about the beach episode when Ruru didn't die, because I thought we were going to get a moment there for a moment.
That could have been
Did you guys?
good,
Did you guys were like, okay? It sounds terrible to say, oh, but if Ruru did die, how much better would the show have been? You know.
You need to give us a threat. You need to set us up in that emotional way. You know, you need to make it a dramatic thing instead of just comically firework with like a jack-o'-lantern face, you know, like that doesn't translate. I knew Ruru wasn't going to die because it was so tonally comical, and her face in the firework is like, okay.
And also like throughout the whole rest of the series, our expectations are, well, the structure is, you know, something happens with a character, they find a phantom that's related to it, and they beat the phantom, and that's it. So like when I watched that, I was hoping, you know, in the back of my mind, I hope this could be an actually good moment. They could do something interesting if Ruru dies, or something, she actually gets like, I don't know, fatally injured or something like that. But I knew that she wouldn't. Everyone act like she's dead, but she's not, and I knew exactly that was going to happen because my expectations had been that way, which is I think why I liked Enigma so much, is in episode 11 specifically, when she beat the crap out of everybody. I just thought that was cool-ish, as cool as this show can get, because it just destroyed my expectations, and I was like, oh, that's actually kind of a interesting villain a little bit, but not so much in episode 13.
There was a real like, oh, fuck, dude. Like I would in the last episode, I like literally with my hand on my head. I was like, shit, why did you do this? You're sabotaging me defending you again. When Enigma, like, because they had this sort of Elvin Lead moment where she's sort of like returning to the facility, and I was like, okay, so they're going to play her off as a sympathetic villain, right? She's going to go in there and sort of like get revenge on the people who fucking, you know, created her and made her suffer.
That would have been good. That would have been good writing.
Yeah. And then she fucking and then she drops this bar when she's talking to Mai, where she's like, no, I'll control humans and phantoms. I'm going to take over the world, essentially, is what she's kind of alluding at. And they're like, okay, now you've completely gone over the line from like morally grey to, no, you're just a cackling villain at this point, and you
also undersold that thing, because she has like a 5-minute villain speech out in the parking lot of just like talking about all the shit about the genetic engineering and the fucking explanation of the plot. And I'm like, I do not care. All I need to know is that it's a bad phantom who's stealing people's powers. That's like all I need to know. And yeah, that entire last episode is, oh, I use the if you're familiar with Kyoto Animation memes, you know, the Kana with the gun in her mouth thing, and that entire episode made me feel that way. It was just like, what am I doing?
We're not saying the actual cute Kana from Tamako Market. We're saying the Dragon Kana.
Yes, Dragon Kana. Yes.
Yeah, because Tamako
Shout
Market.
out to that Kana from Tamako Market. Though.
Yeah,
she's a real one.
She's great. Well, she's Tamako Market. She's just, you know, quality across the board.
yeah. Check out our other episodes if you want to see that.
No. Actually, okay, we're talking about cool characters like Kana, and we were touching on Ruru earlier on. Now, this is a thing in a lot of Kyoani shows. You have this sort of like side shtick going on, and we had it with Dera in Tamako Market. We also have it here with Ruru. She's sort of like a Botan sort of like reference. That was my take on it. Or she's a lot, right? Like, she's got a lot of energy. She brings like a lot to each episode. Like, you can't ignore her, right? She's very present, and she's what do we think of her? And then I guess we can move into the characters maybe after that. But like, we'll start off with her, because I don't know, I could see a lot of people hating Ruru. A lot of people.
She has a lot of time where she's yelling at Haruhiko or being the butt monkey in the joke, and like, man, she doesn't, like we said, she gets a whole episode, but it's really just her being upset that she's small, or she's like eating something, or like, she's a really one note character. Not one note, but like, there's not a lot going on with Ruru. Am I reading it wrong?
Well, I would say, like,
I agree.
Is there a lot going on with any of the characters?
No.
Except for, I like the show. I do a really good job of defending it, but I kind of liked Ruru. I'm not gonna lie, but there were certain times, especially the first half of it, where I was sort of like, Jesus Christ, like, give me a break with this. Because a lot of her humor was sort of one note. And unfortunately, a lot of Reina's humor was kind of one note as well, where she had this, shit, dude, it must happen like 5 times, where Haruhiko would accidentally sort of like bop into her and she would like, go redder and redder and redder and redder and redder, and then like throw him away. And I was like, this joke, because we talked about this specific joke in Clanad, and I thought it was fucking hilarious in Clanad because I legitimately think that was like the first time I'd experienced it in an anime. Like and here it was like, shit, dude, this is that joke happened like 12 times. Between with Reina, and then it would also happen with Mai, where like poor Haruhiko would just get like fucking team rocketed unintentionally, right? Like he wasn't being a lewd or crude or whatever, but it was like, shit, dude, because I thought there was some very funny moments, and I'll get into that later on why I like the show, but this was fucking bad comedy.
Yeah, and it felt like the worst elements of a modern harem anime, and I don't know why. I don't know why.
Yeah, I think it was like trying to. I think it was trying to like parody harems in a way, because like you said, he wasn't doing like anything, but it also like. I feel like saying that gives the show too much credit.
Yeah. That insults parody. That insults everybody who's actually done a good parody of something. Yes.
It was just every time that bit came up, it was just like, come on, move along, please.
And the worst thing was, it wasn't particularly creative either. So funny enough, the very first episode where he kind of like checks it as like, oh, this is just going to be a fucking
he lampshades it.
He lampshades it. Like, and what the kind of, I guess the sort of gag is there where he doesn't land on the boobs, right? He lands on her ass. Her ass hits his face, right? And it's like, oh, it's sort of an inversion, but that was literally the most effort they ever used with that joke, and they used it 11 more times. Yeah. So like the effort in that one, at least they lampshaded. With the other ones, it was like, fuck it, here. Like there was no cool like like Street Fighter reference or Tekken reference, or like we went into Dragon Ball Z for a moment. There was none of that. Like, and because the show was like very liberal with like some pretty cool references at times, like you had the budget, why didn't you just be funny with it and make it like a fucking like go fucking wild? Because you're like, you have no self-control with the show anyway. So why don't you just like, okay, let's have a cool Sakaga moment here where she like literally punches him into the sun.
I get it, and I like Lucky Star too. So you could like everything about that show. Like we're talking about just this one element, but I feel like every aspect of this show, maybe aside from the animation directing, is on that level of like, why didn't you just use this in a better way? Why didn't you use the sexuality in a way that was enticing or something, or something that said something about sexuality, like Kill la Kill or something? Like do something with it. Why didn't you try and write a character that actually or a group of characters that interact and feel like a family or something? Why did we end up here of all things? Killer Animation, why?
This?
So on the other characters, Haruhiko is our sort of like, he's our insert essentially, but he's also like a really, really, really professional mansplainer. Like he's very good at that.
Oh, he's like a fucking nerd.
He's like he's not like well, actually, he's like he has this absurd library, and he is basically a walking library. And turns out he was always that way, because when he was 6, he was like worse somehow. But the other characters like that make up the harem. We have Reina, who is our sort of like our little sister kind of character.
Is that what she was? I was interested on how you're going to describe Reina, because I don't think Reina has much of anything.
Well, that's what I was having a hard time, and I say little sister, but then you have like Kurame, who's the actual little sister character, and we also have Mai, who's been oft mentioned. She's the upperclassman who has feelings or implied feelings for Hazuki.
Fuck, I missed that too. Wow.
I actually got to say that's one of the things they did really well. There was like they were very, very subtle with this, and there was like it was dotted throughout the whole season. There was like 7 or 8. There was a look, or there was a comment, or there was like a pause that was very deliberate. They handled that really well. Unfortunately, there was no payoff. There was no payoff for that, right? Because
episode 12, I remember when
the big kiss was supposed to be. I thought was going to be for Mai because it had been signposted the whole way through, and that would have been a payoff.
Do a harem, right? Like, come on, yeah.
And then there's one other character. There's Koito, who is basically our tsundere.
I forgot she existed.
Tsundere.
Yeah, I did too. Until I was like, no wait, there's one more. She's headphones. She has the lamest power ever because she has to give this and the powers are kind of lame. That's another thing. Like you have such cool and like a great animation team, and you're doing these amazing like battle sequences, and you have like a calling, fee fi fo fum. I'm calling the firepower from my tummy tum tum, and they're like making references to fucking like demon lands and all this shit. That's like in terms of like lore, it makes no sense unless she's like reciting bad metal songs. I don't know. And then she just like bleh. Like the actual like mechanics of how they use their powers is fucking lame.
Like she's supposed to sing, but she just goes ah.
And speaking of that's literally what Reina does. But she goes, she inhales while Koito exhales.
You know what it was when in that final episode where Reina's on one side and Koito's on the other, and they're both yelling at her, and I was like, yeah, these powers are lame. They have like the main bad guy trapped between their two yellings, and I was
mechanically that made no sense because Koito's power isn't digested. So I don't know what the fuck she was even doing anyway, because she was like trying to hold her in place by eating her, because because like if you're going to get really into the weeds with it, Kaito was pushing her in your direction and you're sucking her towards you, so they're sort of complementary. But like, it makes no sense because you're trying to eat her, but you can't eat her because she's not hurt. So what the fuck are you actually doing? Yeah.
You gotta stop thinking. You gotta stop thinking about Myriad Colors Phantom World.
Speaking of Reina, when she sucked his finger. Oh my god, that went on way,
I forgot about
too
that.
long.
Didn't remember that. Wow,
it happened in like episode 2 or something. That she's just like, give me a finger, and it was like I always say the most famously painful, long drawn out moment in anime is episode 5 of Pupa, where the sister is just eating the brother in bed, and she just say, it goes on for like fucking the whole episode. It's unbelievable. She sucked that finger, dude. It was probably like 10 seconds. It felt like a lifetime. Like that was literally cringe. Like.
Yeah,
not like figuratively, literal cringe. I cringed.
If you're doing ecchi, do good ecchi, man. Don't do this.
It reminded me of the finger sucking scene in Fate Stay Night Heaven's Feel. Is it the second movie? I think.
Never seen it.
And have you? I don't know. Anyway,
I haven't seen the second movie yet.
There's a finger sucking
scene. Yes, it's the second or third movie.
Who sucked fingers here? Emiya. Saber sucked Emiya's
Sakura.
finger.
No, Sakura.
Okay.
Yeah,
is girl on girl finger sucking?
No, it's Sakura sucking Emiya's finger. And it's just like it goes on for so long, and I just got flashbacks to the annoyance and trauma, if you will, of seeing that when I saw it in Myriad.
Yeah, I gotta say, I'd like whatever gets you off, right? But having to watch a fucking superbly animated finger suck, it's just like, no, thank you. And they had the fucking spittle kind of like connecting him. It was so like. And this is the show that later on is going to have the Care Bear, the bear adventure, like little Kurome's adventures in Slumberland. Like what are we doing here?
But also that comes after that. Isn't that the episode where they have to there's a peeping Tom phantom in the college girls' dorm, and they have to get naked to attract the phantom? And I'm like, why? This is episode 2. Like, and also like, why? Like you could have written anything, and you're not doing anything with the sexuality here. You have Mai in a towel.
The funny thing is, like, I think Mob Psycho had this almost exact same shtick, right? There was a phantom peeping on girls, and with that episode in the Mob Psycho, I thought it was so fucking funny how they did it, right? Like they had to like dress up Mob, who's so fucking like one note, and as a girl, and he had to go undercover. That's funny, right? And you're like, funny. This could have been funny, because like again, this is the thing where like all this weird fucking sex shit is all front loaded, because like in the midpoint we're getting Kurame, hopping, in teddy bear land, and even the bunny rabbit episode when it happened was such a like a radical shift because one, we had never been introduced to like good phantoms before. And we had just got through 2 episodes of fucking, you know, Peeping Tom's finger sucking and limbo boobs. So it was like, that's why I felt like each episode was almost this, like, it really felt like episodic and not in a kind of a good way because it was just so like up and down and you literally never knew what you're going to get. So there was episodes I legitimately enjoyed. And then there's other ones like the first 2 where you're like, it's a rough look. It's a rough look.
It's upsetting too, like because I don't know, if you have this blank check and you're like, oh, Kyoto Animation, you can make anything. So we said this with Munto, right? Like you can make anything, you can animate whatever you want as an original IP, and this was really the best you had. You really thought this was going to succeed? Like you really thought this was going to be your next big cash money win? And
you have to assume like the history of like what they were doing, like you know, Chunibyo's got multiple seasons and movies, and Sound Euphonium's got like multiple seasons.
Still going.
Free, the same thing, right? They're happy to pump out more content if the market is there for it, right? Even Tomoko Market got fucking Tomoko lovers, right? And this sort of came and sort of went, right? Which is like. I almost said, which is a shame, and then I caught myself because, like, is it a shame now?
So I was thinking about this today, and I was going through the currently airing season of anime, and this is being recorded on, you know, November of 2022. So fall season of 2022
which is
fantastic. There's so many good shows. We mentioned Mob earlier, you know, Spy X Family or what have you. You do it yourself. My anime. Bochi's great too. Love it. And I was literally thinking there's
Chainsaw
15
Man.
Chainsaw right. There's probably 15 shows in this season alone that I would recommend you watch before Myriad Colors Phantom World. And it's like I'm not even exaggerating there.
Yeah, because we had this thing before where we always kind of talked about like, okay, the sort of relevancy in 2022. And we said like, we kind of came to the agreement that Clanad is a show that you should watch. Sound Euphonium is a show that you should watch. I would argue that Tomoko Market is a show that you should watch.
Tomoko Free, those are like, kind of,
there's a case for literally everything. And even Munto, because you're like, well, look, this is literally like it's like a foundational text for KyoAni, right? This is their fucking year 0, right? This is like literally where it all began. Like, I said the in-between and stuff, right? There's like, except for the fact that it's really well animated and visually it's quite colorful. So that's pleasant. It's pleasant to look at. Like it's in terms of like the palette that they use and the animation. And the characters, again, it's KyoAni, right? The characters look great. It's not essential in any way, shape, or form, though. There's no argument to make that you have to watch this. You know,
in fact, I'm trying to think up an argument on which I would recommend Myriad Colors Phantom World to somebody, even if they were looking for something very specific. So maybe if you wanted an example, a negative example, right? Like demonstrably, how do you fail at doing a harem? Well, here you go. How do you fail at doing episodic story writing? Well, here you go. How do you, and is mansplaining offensive to you, or does it put people off from a show? Well, here's a great example. Only negative stuff do I have.
I think that it has some very specific things, but a lot of it, like, I'm kind of surprised none of you mentioned this, but Beyond the Boundary, have either of you seen it?
I have not seen Beyond the Boundary.
I have not. I have seen the first 2 episodes. Yeah.
Okay, because I was gonna say it's almost the exact same formula, but I think Beyond the Boundary is better. It's not. I don't know if it's good, but it's better. And so I'm gonna recommend watching Myriad. Just watch Beyond the Boundary instead, and that one has more than just 1 season. It's got like a movie too, I think. So it's just. I just think it does things better.
I also think Chunibyo sort of fills a lot of the does a lot of what the show is trying to do, and obviously Harry. Like I'm not like the biggest like Harry fan. I enjoy Harry, but I wouldn't say like I'm like a fan of Kai is. But even my fucking rudimentary brain was thinking of Harry while watching this.
Completely agree with everything that you guys have said, and as somebody with literally a shelf of Haruhi Suzumiya figures downstairs, that is something I would recommend.
But There is some
What?
good stuff. There is some good stuff. Can I
I
talk
mean,
about some
if
good
you
stuff?
go, sifting through the trash, yeah, there's some clippable animation
There
moments,
is
right?
there's some cool references. Like the Fist of the North Star thing was legitimately cool.
Oh, that was the only one I remembered. Yeah, that one was neat. The when he summoned, there's a couple good jokes, right? Like
Yes.
the
I have a few that I
Lulud's
want to
parents are
list.
dead. The first time he summons whatever Astros or whatever he summoned, he learns the ability, and this is dumb. Why did he just learns the ability to summon shit? Like there's no narrative weight behind any of it. It's really stupid. But the act of summoning, when it comes out and it's a cute little husky with wings instead of the giant demon that he thought, that's a good joke the first time. Then it happens like 6 more times.
What do you think of Cthulhu, by the way? What do you think of Cthulhu?
The squid, he summons Cthulhu.
That was in a bit of a bad episode. That was the hot spring episode when he summons Cthulhu. But it was like, oh, I know Cthulhu. And he you hear him say Cthulhu, and then it opens up, and you're like, I was just like, I wonder if it's that octopus from the fucking ED that we keep on seeing.
Yeah.
Because I was waiting for that thing to show up, and then it comes out, and the noise that it made, it's sort of like a Pokemon, right? Where it just sort of says, Cthulhu, or whatever. And I was like, oh, fuck it. I love the Cthulhu.
But they'd already done that joke. They'd already done
with the dog, with the wings.
The dog, so
it was like, it was more like I like the design of it. There are some good jokes though, I gotta say. Like, and it was specifically, I thought Kurumi was actually legitimately funny at various times. So there's an episode, I kind of talked about the history episode where I was kind of disappointed by what we got, but there was a couple of moments in that episode that had me like, I fucking loved what they did. And it was all through Kurumi. One was when she was, so they had this big fight sequence, and Kurumi is like, she's dressed up as like not a ninja, but like a samurai, I guess. And she's like swinging this sword around. But like, if you know anything about Kurumi, she doesn't actually do any fighting. The bear does. So what we had essentially was the bear was like, she was swinging the sword around, but the way they animated it was that she never made contact with the sword whatsoever. The bear kept on hitting people for her, but she kept on fucking just, throwing moves out there. And I thought that was a really nice touch. And then later on, and there was a gag in the episode where she would constantly forget her line and the bear would be there. And she would go like line,
like that gag too.
And the bear would come in. And at the very end, they had this, her and Haruhiko say the line together, but they did a really cool thing where they had him say it first and her say it like a half a second behind him, obviously just copying what he was saying. And I thought that joke was fucking good. That was a really good joke. And also the moment where the two people in the crowd was like, why is there a bear on stage? Like, because that's a lot of the humor is like, for us, is like, why is the bear cracking code right now? And the fact that they had the wherewithal to put that joke in there, I thought Kurumi was like kind of like a fun character. Like I don't think she's a great character in any respect because she had no sort of depth to her. Because even her like her angst, I didn't understand that at all. But her presence in the show, I thought she was legitimately funny to me at times. Particularly after like we got over her bullshit with the bear thing, I thought she was funny. I like legitimately thought she was funny, and I thought episode was a funny episode. And that's what I would say is like, if you've watched like KyoAni and you're like, oh, that humor sort of vibes with you, there's enough moments in the show that you might be like, yeah, that was pretty funny too. It's irreverent and it's sort of like forced. It's like, it's not earned, okay? It's still like they know KyoAni, I think, are a really funny studio because anime is hard, because you're doing like humor and translation is really hard. I don't even.
We will be talking about our next episode is Nichijou, so yes, I agree.
So even with American humor, I struggle like because of like it's not like strictly Irish humor, and there's just like a reference thing and an experiential thing. And so with anime, it's even more removed because we don't even share a language, right? So even if it's in dub, like a lot of the humor could be lost in translation, right? But I find that with KyoAni, they can do funny because the animation team is so good and they're so expressive. It's like Bochi, like talking about this season, it's so fucking funny. One, it's because of like how well it's written, but also because the animators are just fucking great at animating humor. And in this show, I think there are moments where it's legitimately funny, but it's not earned. So you have to be willing to like that bear thing I referenced earlier on. You have to be like, all right, that was funny. In isolation, that was funny. It's not earned, but I still had a moment of like to laugh at it because I legitimately like yucked when the bear started cracking the code. It's a stupid moment in terms of like the plot, right? or and it's not earned in any way, shape, or form because there's no reference to this bear doing. He wasn't even sentient, I think, other than other than that one episode. And now he's fucking like. And when he started soldering, though, I was just like, oh, and the girls were like, yeah, woo, and then you get the playoff with Haruhiko, who kind of like his funny moments, I think, are where they all put him down. I kind of like Haruhiko. I gotta say, he's not offensive to me.
Not the most offensive, considering what the rest of the genre of harem protagonist has to offer. Then,
yeah,
he's better. He's all right.
He's so mid. He's inoffensive, and that gets a pass.
Man, yeah, and that's the thing is like I can't. There's no way you could recommend even like sifting through for the good moments if the characters are just not there. There's no way that I could watch the animation things if there's no grounding behind what's happening and no stakes behind anything. It's like just like walk away. If presented with Myriad Colors Phantom World, just walk away.
Yeah, don't let peer pressure you force you into doing something that could ruin your life. Don't watch
it.
Exactly. You take that one hit at Myriad Colors Phantom World, and then you're going to be like hooked forever on bad harem anime. And before you know it, you're going to be like, you're not going to see your friends anymore. You're going to stop going to work. You're going to just start spending all your money on fucking shitty action, shitty models, and no girl, no member of the opposite sex is going to feel comfortable with your waifu pillows.
Hey, waifu pillows aren't the problem here. Bad writing's the problem here.
I definitely went through a phase when I was younger where I would have watched this anime. So I'm kind of, well, I guess it came out too late for that, but like, I watched, like when I watched Fairy Tail when I was way younger, and I watched like Supernatural Battles when Supernatural Battles
become commonplace,
and then like all of those. It's just,
didn't it really feel like it though? Like didn't this really feel like Supernatural Battles become commonplace?
It's been a while, so I vaguely remember it, but yeah.
Because they sort of tack on a story in the last 2 episodes as well,
and
they have like the powers I guess are better, but I think KyoAni's humor vibes with me more than Trigger humor generally, and also I think this one is actually animated better than Supernatural Battles.
Oh yeah,
which is crazy because it's Trigger, right? And you think if anyone can go balls to wall and crazy, that show is the weirdest Trigger show anyway, because it feels like it's not a Trigger show. It also feels like one of those moments where we're like, let's go that direction because that's where the anime industry's going, right?
Yeah,
like
and also pay the bills.
It's a bit of, but like. That was
did
not
it
like
though?
Because I think it was like they were coming out like kill. It did it, yeah, true.
Yeah, right.
What they needed is like we need more waifu, I guess.
The thing I remember about that episode was the one speech where the girl goes off and she's like, what are you talking about with all this, nonsense and this bullshit? And I would love to know, but you don't explain it to me. You don't let me in. That.
Oh yeah.
It became famous. That's the only thing.
That was a good. It was not earned though. It was a good scene though.
Sure. But like, let's compare that directly with what we knew about Myriad Colored Phantom World going in, which is the booby limbo scene. Like, that's where I'm at. Yeah,
there was no moment there. Like I thought we were going to get it with Reina. Actually, I thought she was sort of signposted as the character to have that moment. Like how
be introspective
because they had this thing with the parents, right? And I hate it what they did. Like in like episode 11, they're like, "Oh, my parents are cool now."
Yeah, I know. I was like,
what the actual fuck happened there? Like, really? Like I'm the guy who's defending the fucking bear soldering because it's for the lols. But you're really going to just go, "Oh, hand wave. Parents are fine now." Because I really thought like if this was going to be a thing that was going to like impact Reina's character. I'm not saying it's going to make her a great character, but we're going to have a moment later on where there's sort of a reckoning with this, where she's going to kind of push back and she's not so happy-go-lucky, cute Reina. There's actually a bit of something there.
See, you're rewriting the show again. You're making it into a better show than it is. And I would love for that show that you have in your head to be on the screen, but it's simply not. And they simply don't do anything like that. That would require some type of series composition and structure and like foresight and like, the actual skill in composing this story. And that's not what this is.
Speaking of composing, we back in the Tamako Market episode, we had a bit of a spirited debate on the quality of the ED for Tamako Market. Yes. And another thing about the show that I really quite liked was the OP. I never skipped it. I thought it was fucking awesome.
Wait, what'd you say, Cider?
I said I agree.
Yes.
I thought
No, complete opposite. Hated it.
I thought it was all right at 2 times speed.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. No. Did you know that?
It has,
I thought,
it has all the
great.
intros, right? The names of the
it's
characters,
okay.
and there's like it's like in this weird genre of music. It feels awkward. It doesn't fit with the show and the lighthearted comedy.
The genre of music was a little bit weird, but I thought the whole, except for the boobs in the camera, but I thought that in general it was at least it was more interesting than actually watching this show, I'd have to say.
And
for a lot of the parts.
I thought it was like, one, it was cool how they played the color thing, right? Like they really played into the color thing, and you had those squares coming up, like the pixels, and that was a kind of a visual sort of motif in episode 1 where they kind of kept on going to that. Like even his room sort of like kind of like pixeled into view, right?
Yeah,
but that was
I forgot about that. They
completely dropped it after episode 1. Literally after the first scene, it sort of dropped, right?
Man.
And coming into the intro where that was like a big prominent thing, and then you have the first scene where that's a prominent thing again. I'm like, okay, this could be a cool way of like phasing these these like phantoms in, or like how you perceive reality. Like, is this how you perceive everything? And then no, it kind of got dropped. But I thought the song was actually pretty good. It kind of reminded me of like that kind of like Asian Kung Fu generation, Rad Wimpsy kind of like pop rock. But in a, I thought it was a catchy song. I said I never skipped it. Not twice speed either. I sat through the whole thing. And I thought
I watched the whole series at 2 times speed. So it was just
like and the ED, I thought the ED was it was nowhere near the level of Tomoko Market or Chinibyo or like Haruhi or Clanad. It was like not bad. It was a decent ED.
Yeah. I also like the conceit of Lulu in cosplay and stuff, but I just didn't care about Lulu enough to make it interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when you think of like season 1 of Free, right, or actually just Free in general,
that's exactly what I thought about. Yep.
Or even like My Hero Academia, right? They do the exact same thing where you're like, it's a bit of like you have a DeviantArt moment, right, where you get to like put these cool characters in like a thing that's not like relevant to the plot, but it's just like fun fan service, right? And that's good fan service, right? Like seeing like policewoman Lulu or fucking Haru having a personality. That's kind of what you want, right? That was a Haru shot, by the way.
Oh no, he deserves it.
Yeah, fuck yeah, Haru. Team Rin and always. I don't know if that was
Go listen to our free episode if you haven't already.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say ED gets I loved it. Like legitimately, not loved it. I thought it was
OP,
really good.
You mean?
Yeah, OP. Yes, sorry. ED enjoyable.
Sure.
If a little bit sort of like, how you say this? There's a lot of EDs like that. We'll say, it wasn't like it wasn't like with Tomoko Market. I thought Tomoko Market was quite a unique ED.
Oh, so good.
Yeah, right. But this, and we had a big spirited debate about it, right? Like we talked about like the finer points of it, and this one you're like, yeah, there's it's Ruru. You like Ruru? And the song is there. Not really. Next.
You said something very profound there. There's a lot of EDs like it, and I think that applies for most of Myriad Colors Phantom World. There's a lot of shows like it, and shows that are actually focused and better. So if you are into, this is the worst representation of what anime can be, I think, in a lot of ways. This is not a show you would ever show to your parents.
Yeah, or like a normie.
Yeah, or to a normie, yes. So go watch one of the good shows. Go watch one of the Kyoto Animation's good shows.
Well, it might be that time.
Do we want to rank it? Do you want to move on to the recommendations and ranking section of our podcast?
Yeah. So Cider, what we always do is we had a major fail in the last episode where we could not think of anything good to recommend on the strength of month till. Although Kai, you came through. Me and Tori kind of sank. So it's the idea is if you like that, you should watch this, or instead of watching this, you should watch that. Okay, and I think it's going to be more the former or the latter with this one. Don't watch Myriad Colors Phantom World. Watch this instead. So you guys, I have a couple of cool ones that I think you guys are going to dig. Do you guys have any recommendations? Like Haruhi's obviously one, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that. Yeah, but Cider, you got anything?
I mean, I maybe Beyond the Boundary if really want something like it, but
yeah, that feels like a good one to me. I don't know. I respect that. I can see it. I was trying to think of any type of, like coherent harem that would give you, or like ecchi show that would give you that type of stuff that Myriad Colors Phantom World kind of pretends to be in episode 1 and 2, and that if you wanted to go skeevy with it, what could you find that would be engaging?
Well, you gotta watch DxD, right?
Yeah, that one's a good one.
If you want a harem, right? So for me, I was thinking more along the lines of the episodic sort of like adventure lands where we're sort of popping into this weird sort of psychic space and kind of having fun with it. So I got 2, and one is from the exact same year, and it's Flip Flappers. Like we get a lot of like world visiting with that, right? We go into like I fucking love episode 6 of Flip Flappers. I think it's one of the coolest episodes of anime ever.
And can I say the bear episode is episode 6 in this, and that's what reminded me of Flip Flappers when they went into the mushrooms and everything. Yep, yeah, that was Flip Flappers to me, right?
And like Flip Flappers is so creative, and it's fucking so underrated. And like you even get like cool magical girls, not just like one sequence of Kurame being a magical girl,
and you actually have a relationship between them that actually matters in the climax. And you have character building that goes on.
And then the other one would be, it's actually, I don't know if it's a magical girl show, but it's sort of in that space, is Alice to Zoroko. There's a lot of cool like world hopping in there where we go into these weird sort of like crafted worlds. And like that's where I was focusing more on, like when we went to these cool like spaces, these like liminal spaces, wherever the fuck they are, where like the bear episode or the bunny rabbit episode, where it's like, okay, our characters are affecting the kind of thrust of the episode. Alice to Zoroko, Flip Flappers, I think they do it pretty well. And then this is a really weird one. Faith Grand Order. I think it's the one where they go through the towers. There's a lot of like world hopping in that one as well. It's not very good, but it looks great because it's a Faith show.
I know,
and it's Cloverworks, I think so.
I know we've argued about this before, but for me, the pinnacle of episodic story writing in a lot of ways is Cowboy Bebop. I think that if you want to see how to make a cast of characters come together throughout episodic stories that are different and focus on a different character every episode, that's how you do it.
Or Mushishi. That's a great one too.
Sure. Mushishi. Yeah, it's got the fantasy in it too.
Yeah, it does. And it has spirits. I think they're Mushi. Let's get into what the fuck they are. But there are recommendations that you can have fun with it, This is not Muncho where you're sort of like, I don't know. But I think the key is to just do like KyoAni does this better at other places, and it's very obvious. Like this,
even if staying inside of KyoAni, you could go watch like KO and to see a group of club members actually have relationships and form bonds, and you could watch Chunibyo for the fantasy and the club aspect. It's
and
like
the battle sequences and the
there's nothing here. There's nothing here that's not done better a million times over elsewhere. Maybe the mansplaining. This is primo mansplaining.
This might be S tier mansplaining. I cannot.
Yeah, they have lovely graphics of the thing, like that whole Schrodinger's cat animation thing that they had along with it. It was like gorgeous. I was like, holy shit! But if you want to learn about fucking Gaius Plinius the Secondus, it's like you don't want to hear Haruhiko explain it to you.
that was a fantastic joke, by the way. It took me a few seconds to get it, so I didn't react. Gaius Plinius. I think it was like Gaius mansplaining. Was the joke?
Well, I'm sorry, what?
Did you make a joke there? It was like Gaius Plinius. I thought like a guy explaining.
Oh no, that's his
unintentional
name.
Pun.
Pliny the Second. No, that's his name. He literally says that in episode 1 when he meets Reina. He's like, "Do you know about Gaius Plinius the Second?"
Okay. It's so weird. I literally I didn't think about the mansplaining until we came on here, and then you're just sort of like, oh, how did I miss this? And I mean, it's like retroactively going back to all of it. And like, fuck, dude, it's like one of the core themes of the show, right? It's
the power of mansplaining. Right? That's what I was expecting in the climatic battle. So, we didn't talk about the climax. No, holy shit, we almost got out of this without talking about the literal climax of this entire thing. So, okay, let me explain it to you. Let me mansplain episode 13 and 12 of Myriad Colors Phantom World. The Enigma steals Haruhiko's power to summon phantoms. So he's powerless, and it's like this whole big thing. It's like one of your, I don't know, what's the Save the Cheerleader, Save the World show, Heroes. It was called Heroes, right? You remember that back in the day? You too young. Don't worry about it. He loses his powers. There's somebody stealing powers. Enigma steals his powers. Then they go for the battle and they're losing, of course, because they need Haruhiko, right? Like the Haruhiko's got to do something, right, to overcome. And I thought he was gonna. My prediction going into the thing, he was gonna mansplain Enigma to death.
Actually, her to death.
Yes. And I was like, I thought he was going to use his. So what you would actually do if you had built up a relationship between the characters throughout the show is that you would, do some type of, hey, I supported you, and seeing Haruhiko supporting them, both Mai, Reina, and Koito would then have some, or Kurumi would have some, inner strength or something. We got to fight for Haruhiko's sake. Haruhiko's got to be the catalyst here, right? However that happens. A Sailor Moon is a great example of how you do that in a climax. But anyway, what they don't do that. They don't do either of those things. They don't do the explain. They don't do the, power of friendship. They do the relationship between Lulu and Haruhiko. They do a kiss between Lulu and Haruhiko, and then Haruhiko magically gets his powers back after he kisses Lulu. That's it. I got it out. It's in the world. Now, if you haven't seen Mugen Phantom or Myriad Colors Phantom World, you never have to see me. You know that it's just resolved in the most BS way possible.
It was terrible. That was just that moment. I was like, they're not going to do it. No, don't do it to me.
Yeah,
and then they did.
I think that like everything else, if they had Mai being the one who had the kiss, because I'm telling you, it was signposted throughout the whole series. She cared about Haruhiko, right? And like that should have been that moment. I could turn around to you guys and say, no, that was earned. And the rest of it's kind of bullshit. Like when he magically levels up, just because, Like I think he literally said people can get better. Okay, sure.
It's gonna prove like it's some big trump card or some shit. All right. Also, the teacher just comes out of nowhere and she's like, "Yeah, you got to do what she did to steal your powers with your Lulu's a figment of yourself." And I was writhing on my couch when this nonsense happened.
Yeah, I couldn't believe they had the teacher there, because like surely that would have been Koito's chance to be actually fucking useful. Because she's supposed to be the one who's sort of like on Haruhiko's level, sort of intellectually, right? She's the one who senses the ghost and she figures shit out. And then the teacher runs in, let me give you some exposition, And it was like, and Koito's just there, darkness, raw.
And Mai has the thing, like they go into the bubble world of memories, which is brought up only in one episode with Mai earlier on. So it would have been better if it was Mai in that way. It would have been more earned. I still don't think it would have been incredibly earned, but it still would have been more earned.
At least there's a connection to make. Whereas this whole time Rue is just a mascot, and then suddenly I don't know.
They're the same person.
Yeah, apparently.
That was really weird. That was so weird. You think about it.
And
don't
also
think about it, I guess, is the probably.
Don't. So you brought up a good thing. There's a quote that I would love to share from episode 1 by Lulu. And I would like to say that having Lulu, if the climax is an attempt to make Lulu win the harem, that sucks and that's bad. And Lulu did not deserve to win the harem. There's a quote from episode 1 that I think encapsulates all of Myriad Colors Phantom World from Lulu. And the quote is as follows. This makes my brain hurt.
That's it.
That's all. That's the quote. Yeah. Thank you.
That sums it up.
The people in the boxes are on their feet clapping. The roses are fighting for us. One more very, very arbitrary thing. Sorry, fucking Kurumi's hair. It.
Oh yeah, we need to talk about that.
I do not understand why the pigtails had to go forwards. It seemed wildly impractical. It made her less cute. It was like I could. It took me episodes to get over it. Like I kept on fixating on it.
So this is the thing too. Is like she's a very generic kind of like put together or grade school girl. Like she's not wild in any way. So when your character design, you're making a character, like you got to match it with their personality, right? And the forward-facing ponytails tell me something's going on, something's happening with this character. And then she's just milquetoast. She's just a girl.
And she's a little angsty, but that's about it.
Yeah, and we're not going to explain why she's angsty. That's just going to be a thing for one episode. I don't even
remember. I do not remember.
I don't think there is. She gets the inner monologue. I did like the fact that I thought it was a very human moment, which is not something the show could be accused of very often. But when she's like, "Oh, I'll tell them if I can hit all the white lines, but if I step outside of the white lines as I'm hopping across the street, then I won't. I won't say anything." I think that's a very like. I remember doing shit like that as a kid. Often, like walk, like I can't touch the lines on the sidewalk, right? Or like the floor is lava or whatever. Like just these like, little mind things that you just do as a kid, and I thought that was kind of sweet.
Yeah, and it was also sweet in Aria the Origination when it was done effectively and with emotional impact. So I would highly recommend you all go watch.
Let her have it. Let her have it. There's been so few jokes for the show.
It's fine. It's like one of the least offensive or least terrible parts of the show.
It was a bit of a fucking wild moment, though. A bit of a brain break, actually, when she just sort of sank into the water, because to this point we had no, I think reference for this, like a human character, like fucking sucking people in, because I think the rabbit episode there was this cool bus. The bus is really well animated, I gotta say. The bus is cool.
Yeah, I like that.
And actually Raina's introduction was fucking cool as well, where she was like surrounded by all these like kind of like candlestick phantoms, I think they were, and she's going off, she's all like hell girl, and she's just like I'm like, oh, she could be a horror character. This could be pretty cool. And then, Raina turns out to be fucking Sunshine incarnate. But, I thought that was like, it was a weird moment because it was a cool like scene, but with hindsight, it was like almost terrible because it was so like false flagging what she was going to do.
Misrepresenting the characters. Yeah. I like,
it's almost like that's what the whole show does.
Yeah. Masterfully, you might say. If there's one thing it does well, it's fucking ruin your expectations.
Yeah,
it fails to deliver on its promises.
Yes, I would say yes.
So let's rank this biatch. Just for like clarity's sakes, S tier is San Euphonium, A is Clannad, B is Hamako Market and Free. Munto is a soft C.
Where's the tier list? Do we have a C? Okay, are we moving? You put Munto. Okay, we argued about this one. We put Munto in D. I don't know why we had a D tier. I think we bumped Munto up to C.
I think, let's grade on the curve. And because of this, yes, Munto can be a C.
Thank you, Myriad Colors Phantom World, for retroactively making Munto a better show.
San Euphonium has gone beyond S now and has entered the realm of the gods.
We didn't understand how bad it could get. We had no idea.
Reflected glory.
No, in spite of the positives that we have mentioned, this is a complete failure of a narrative and of a television show. I would put this in bottom tier, no matter what the bottom is.
You're going F?
Yes.
Wow.
I'd be generous and give it a D because I have seen worse.
Okay. No, time out. Let's clarify.
Is this relative to only Kyoto Animation?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. That's what I was about to say. Yeah.
Oh man. See, F.
But here's the thing. It's not a Handshakers. It's not like a Sailor Moon Crystal. It's not like one of my most hated shows of all time, though I did hate it. Is there a worse Kyoto Animation show?
Well, like Shinibyo season 2, arguably.
Yeah.
Is it bad? I haven't seen it.
It's way worse. Like season 1 is like one of my favorite KyoAni shows, like top 2, I would say, just below San Euphonium. And season 2 is like You know that thing where what's that Family Guy thing where the guy at the end, they do the performance and the guy goes, "I didn't like any of it." That was sort of me, you know. It was like that was I didn't vibe with season 2. Oh shit, though. We're not doing Tenebio season 2 though, and I think for Key, with the caveat that I think if this was like pan anime, I would say it's like a D or D plus. Yeah. It's an F though.
Me as well.
I think you're right. It's probably an F. I feel horrible saying that because I enjoyed it like to a C level, but I spent an hour and 30 minutes like easily picking holes on it.
Yeah, over the course of this podcast, you did come back and were like, oh, actually, yeah. So.
It's probably an F. I apologize to Cider again. Sorry you had to go through this.
It's all right. I had fun.
I guess if we do get a season 2 and if Violet Evergarden makes it, I guess you're the guy though, right?
Heck yeah.
Because
I'm working on a video on it this weekend.
Oh shit, yeah. Well, actually, I was to say that, right? Cider Thoughts. Sorry, the Irish accent kicked in there again. People are being like TOU. Cider Thoughts on, it's all one word. It's all together on YouTube. You can go check out the video. He does a pretty cool video on Tomoko Market, if I do say so myself.
Thank you.
If you're into that kind of thing, which I am. Guy, you don't need to watch it.
I'll watch it to support Cider. Come on. I'll go over there,
comment, subscribe.
Yeah.
Also, if you guys want to throw feedback into this episode, what you guys thought of the episode. I know at the end we can compile some feedback because I've got feedback on specifically Clanad at this point because we've only released 2 episodes. Some pretty thoughtful feedback actually that maybe we can like talk about.
Yeah, let's have a feedback episode.
When it's all out there. This is episode 6. We have 2 more to go. Next is Nishijo, which will be over on Kai's channel. We're existing on the My Anime Podcast RSS feed and on my channel. Next one is going to be over there, as you know by now, hopefully. But if you just dipped in, make sure to check out Here in Sweet. Make sure to check out Cider Thoughts. Make sure to let us know what you thought of Myriad Colors Phantom World. And until next time, I guess, bye-bye. Love you.
See ya.
Bye-bye.